Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. We are here for Good Tues Newsday, the episode where we cover all the good news, the positive news, and the inspirational things that humans, animals, and maybe sometimes even our governments are doing to help make the world a better place. This is Before Coffee, the father and daughter comprehensive news of Planet Earth podcast, where we look up our news stories 10 to 15 minutes before we start. We haven't had any caffeine. We just roll out of bed and we're ready to learn how to read with you on today's Good Tues Newsday. So let's get into the headlines. Today on Good Tues Newsday, hero gamer thwarts attack on California school by reporting teens discussing bombing intentions online. Adidas bans the controversial use of kangaroo leather. I had no idea they were even using any.
And good morning from the United States on Good Tues Newsday, where the good news is U.S. drug overdoses have dropped sharply in 24, the largest single-year drop in history. Plus, there's a new world champion of cycling, and it's not Amsterdam.
I did not know you were going to say that, so I thought you were done. I thought you walked right when you said that. Countless Dutch people will benefit from agreement between EU and the United Kingdom.
And break on to the other side. Jim Morrison's bust found after 37 years by accident. And plus a dry cleaner gives away his services to the unemployed.
Obsidian artifacts reveal how the Aztec Empire evolved before its downfall.
And it's National Streaming Day, so that's what we're doing right here. May 20th, 2025 on Before Coffee.
Live on the internet for all 10 people who watch the show, and we appreciate every 10 of you, because you know what? You don't have a show unless you have one listener, even if it's your mom, you know? She still counts.
We appreciate all of you. Believe me.
Yes, we appreciate all of you.
Absolutely.
Let's get started with our first segue for today's stories on our Good Tues Newsday. It's always nice to look at all this good stuff happening out there.
Spin the wheel and I'll go freshen up my coffee.
There it goes, yeah. I love when the wheel spins. We haven't been getting mixed metaphor like in weeks at this point. It's another accurate metaphor in simile. We're talking about a hero. We're looking out for a hero and we found one. This gamer thwarts an attack on a school by reporting it. This is by Andy Corbally on the Good News Network. For more than a decade, parents were inundated with unsubstantiated claims that violent video games influence children and teens to be violent. Now, from California comes a story of exactly the opposite occurring. A teenage gamer who routinely engages in virtual violence took action to prevent actual violence from happening. On the 11th of May in Tehama County, members from the Sheriff's Office Major Crimes Unit carried out a search warrant on two houses on Bowman Road in Lake, California. Inside, two juveniles aged 14 and 15 were found to be in possession of improvised explosive devices, guns, and manifestos explaining the motives behind the yet-to-be-carried-out attack, with their minds killed one set of parents and 100 people of Evergreen Middle School in Cottonwood. Okay, so the yet-to-be-carried-out attack, which in their minds killed one set of their parents and 100 people at Evergreen Middle School in Cottonwood. Like 14 and 15, and they're already thinking of mass murder. We failed as a society. But that's okay, because we also didn't fail as a society. Now in juvenile detention, awaiting formal prosecution, the media had been informed that the search warrants were approved based on the information provided from a as-yet unidentified teen video gamer from Tennessee, who heard the imprisoned pair discussing their plot whilst playing a computer game with them. He was on some COD or some, I don't know, Halo. I don't know what people play anymore. And they were like, yeah, we're gonna bomb our school tomorrow, and I'm gonna kill my mom. And he was like, huh?
Oh.
And where do you live exactly? Yeah, we live in Cottonwood, so make sure you keep your eyes on the news. Evergreen Middle School is going down. And then he was like, hello, police. These kids are gonna need some help. Yeah. Along with their comments, the hero was able to receive a photo from the two teens in which they were dressed in clothes of Columbine High School shooters. Wow, they were going full cosplay. As all of this was revealed in a press conference by Tahoma County Sheriff Dave Kane, who took questions from the media before eventually inviting and expressing his hope that the young man would step forward and be acknowledged for his heroism. In the end, I'd like to celebrate this young man, this particular young man out of Tennessee, this young hero, and focus the attention of this event on what it deserves to be. That this young man had the courage and heroic instinct to call on our agency and notify us in order to mitigate any possible threat to our citizens, and particularly our young people, Kane said. I think this is a good case where it's evident. If you see something, say something, and in this case, it worked. In a letter addressed to the Evergreen School families, Superintendent Brad Mendenhall said the county schools had become more secure in recent years with the addition of high fences, security cameras, constant monitoring, and limited points of entry. Sheriff Kane expressed his confidence that the plot was entirely prevented, just that he told the press his own son returned to school on the day it was reopened. So, celebrate this hero's gamer instincts. Maybe share it with some teens you know. Because if they see something, they should say something. And they can stay anonymous, just like this guy did, right? He's not putting a target on his back or anything. He's just like, hey guys, anonymous tip-off. Something's about to happen. Even if it's your own friends, right? What's gonna hurt? Would you rather lose a friendship or have your friend kill a bunch of people? Personally, I'd rather lose a friendship. So.
Yeah, he wasn't that great of a friend anyway.
No.
He's a killer.
You have a simile or metaphor for that?
Simile, he's like a modern day Paul Revere, right? The gamers are coming. The gamers are coming.
Well, more the other way, right? The bombers are coming. The bombers are coming.
The bombers are coming. There you go. Bombers. Oh, my other comment on this would be like, well, these are instead of cosplaying like being a terrorist or shooting up buildings, why don't you cosplay the French Revolution? How about that? Read up on that. Read The Tale of Two Cities. There you go. Cosplay that.
Get your brain in a book. That's always a great advice. Put your brain in a book.
Have you ever noticed that the people telling us we should hate our neighbors are rich people? Have you ever noticed that?
Suspicious.
I have no real reason to hate my neighbors. Why does a rich guy want me to hate my neighbors? Maybe I should hate the rich guy. Yeah,
instead of investing in fertilizer, invest in a guillotine.
Yeah, well, I'll invest in learning how to, hack banks. I don't know. Learn how to freaking... I don't know what to do, man. They've rigged the system so poorly that all we can do is sit there and go, morons that think you're going to be a rich man someday, that's just some bullshit the rich man sold you. You're not going to be rich, and he's made it impossible almost for you to get rich. So there you go. Yeah.
Okay, our next story is about a company getting rich. Speaking of a segue there. Off of kangaroo leather. I had no idea this was happening. I'm sure people who are huge animal rights conservationists were like, yeah, I knew about this. They were using kangaroo leather. To be fair, I've never bought an Adidas, so I haven't participated. You're welcome. I boycotted them by chance. Lauren Welbank on Green Matters is reporting the story.
Why?
Kangaroos should be able to sleep a little easier at night now that the Adidas has announced that it no longer plans to use leather made from an animal's hide in the manufacturing of its clothes and footwear. The decision was one that was a long time coming after the company faced a public outcry over its continued use of materials made from kangaroos in its fashion line. In a decision that made a legions of animal rights activists happy, Adidas CEO Bjorn Golden told shareholders that the company would no longer be using kangaroo leather, more commonly called K-leather, in its shoes or other products on May 15th, 2025 meeting. Okay, so if I've ever seen the word K-leather, that's how they do it, right? They hide it by saying it's K-leather. Oh, what's K-leather? Oh, yeah, it's just like really cool leather.
Wait.
Oh, but if you call it K-leather, right?
K for kangaroo or king. Maybe it's made from kings.
King crab leather, yeah.
That's tough. That's some tough leather.
The decision came after the president of the Center for Humane Economy traveled to Adidas headquarters to meet with Guidance to discuss ending the inhumane practice, according to the World Animal News blog. Golden shared at the time the company had previously decided to cut ties with the K-leather industry and hadn't produced any new material since August 2024, according to Yahoo News. So they were just wanted to use up the rest of their supply because, I mean, what else are you going to do with it? The kangaroo's already been killed. This was an especially big win for Center of Humane Economy, since the organization has been pushing for that kangaroos are not shoes campaign to put an end to global use of kangaroos in fashion. In fact, the campaign has already helped usher in the end of K-leather and other popular brands, including Nike, New Balance, Puma, and Sokito, according to the World Animal News blog. So, what was kangaroo leather used for? K-leather can most commonly be found in high-end athletic footwear, according to the World Animal News, which notes that it's especially popular in soccer cleats. That's because the lightweight fabric is both durable and comfortable for athletes, making it a popular pick for lots of players. However, the way the leather is sourced has prompted a lot of public backlash against the practice. Okay, so if we had like a kangaroo farm and we fed them carrots all day and then we took their leather, it wouldn't be bad. Now, I'm sure they would still care that kangaroos were being bred purposely for leather, but cows are doing the same thing. I guess the thing with cows, right, this is coming from their point of view, or a devil advocate's point of view. Cows, you eat their meat, you use their bones, whatever. You use all of the animal, so of course you should also use the leather. Throw away anything. Right. I don't know if, maybe people were killing kangaroos and using all that meat for that. But when you have it completely based on only their skin, right, which sounds like it's way more popular to have kangaroo leather, there is definitely a chance that you're throwing away the rest of the animal and only using the leather, and that is just wasteful. I can't agree with that. I don't care what it is. I don't like that when people are just like, let's just use this one specific part and let's throw away the rest. No, thank you.
What if the kangaroo died of natural causes?
Yeah.
If it just
to harvest this leather, kangaroos living in Australia outback are subjected to inhumane treatment as they are rounded up and killed for their skin. Often baby kangaroos, also known as joeys, are cut up in the slaughtering process as well. Because their skins aren't mature enough to be used for K-leather, they're typically beaten or left to die of natural causes in the outback after their mothers are killed and removed. Wow, that's pretty inhumane, I agree. Hopefully the decision from Adidas sends a message to the other companies, both inside and outside the world of fashion, letting them know that there are other alternatives that don't require the cruel and unusual punishment that these animals are subjected to. Because there are still so many brands that utilize kangaroos and their byproducts, including the manufacturer's items like supplements and pet food and human food. Okay, there you go. So they're putting the meat in pet food. Kangaroo Plus, great for your cat. So with many alternatives out there, they don't involve the killing of innocent animals.
In your step.
Yeah, it's beyond the timing move. They're more sustainable and cruelty-free materials when it comes to manufacturing the items we use every day. So, yeah, that's pretty awful. Just, I mean, I'm always a fan of if we're gonna kill some animals for their whatever, don't kill the female animals with, how are you gonna keep the population up if you're just killing all the females? How does that work? Even lobster people, right? Even people who do crabs and lobsters are sorting their animals, right? And putting the female lobsters back. Oh, this is a breeding lobster. We need these in the ocean.
Right.
So they make more.
Yeah.
Why would you be killing the joeys? Anyways.
Well.
Before going on a rant anymore.
Oh, I guess we need a metaphor, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, hunting kangaroos for meat is like, I don't know. It just seems like opportunism more than anything else than needs necessity. But I guess that's not a metaphor. There's some poachers out there
in the wild, and they, want a free hand. So hey, nobody's protecting these kangaroos. Let me just kill them all. That's the problem. It's greed.
Yeah, it's like you're on a ship and you've got all of these other animals to choose from, and let's eat the kangaroo. I don't know. There's my terrible metaphor. Couldn't work on it. Yeah, man. Put me in metaphor jail for the day.
Metaphor jail.
All right, we're going to talk about the next story. Oh, God, spin the wheel.
It's spinning.
It's Good News Tuesday. Good Tues Newsday.
Non sequitur.
Non sequitur from U.S. drug overdose deaths from CBSNews.com. U.S. drug overdose deaths dropped sharply in 24, the largest one-year decline ever recorded. This is from Carrie Breen, CBS News. There were 30,000 fewer U.S. drug overdose deaths in 24 than the year before, the largest one-year decline ever recorded. An estimated 80,000 people died from overdoses last year, according to Provincial Centers for Disease Control and Prevention data released Wednesday. That's down 27% from 110,000 in 2023. Still, annual overdose deaths are higher than they were before the COVID-19 pandemic. In a statement, the CDC noted that overdoses are still a leading cause for death of people 18 to 44, underscoring a need for ongoing efforts to maintain this progress. Some experts worry the recent decline could be slowed or stopped by reductions in federal funding and the public health workforce, or a shift away from strategies that seem to be working. Now is not the time to take the foot off the gas pedal, said Daniel Ciccarone, a drug policy expert at the University of California, San Francisco, as he uses the gas pedal metaphor. The CDC has been collecting comparable data for 45 years. The previous largest one-year drop was 4% in 2018, according to the agency's National Center for Health Statistics. All but 2 states saw declines last year, with some of the biggest, Ohio, West Virginia, and other states that have been hard hit in the nation's decades-long overdose epidemic. Experts say more research needs to be done to understand what drove the reduction, but they mentioned several possible factors. Among the most cited: increased availability of the overdose reversing drug naloxone, expanded addiction treatment, shifts on how people use drugs, a growing impact of billions of dollars of opioid lawsuit settlement money. The number of at-risk Americans is shrinking after waves of deaths, and other older adults have shifted teens and younger adults away from the drugs that cause most deaths. All the people that are going to die, most of them are already OD'd already, is what they're saying, okay? That's not exactly a good approach. The provisional numbers are estimates of everyone who died of overdoses in the U.S., including non-citizens. That data is still being processed, and the final numbers can sometimes differ a bit, but it's clear that there was a huge drop last year. A CDC report last year showed that the overdose deaths in the U.S. fell between 17% in 23 and July 24, credited in part to wider naloxone excess. Naloxone, also sold under the brand name Narcan, that's what I've learned to call it, Narcan, was made available over the counter purchase in 23 and for first responders to carry. It's even popped up in some classrooms. I have seen it in classrooms in Oregon, seen Narcan in grade schools even.
Really?
The Trump administration has proposed cutting a 56, your kid's sister gets a hold of your shit by accident, right? The Trump administration has proposed cutting a $56 million grant that teaches first responders how to use the life-saving overdose reversal drugs naloxone, which experts, they propose cutting it, which is what they do. They want people to die because they work for Russia. Don't forget that. Trump works for Russia, which experts have previously said could reverse progress the U.S. has made in lowering opioid overdose deaths. So let's watch that death rate go up this year. The grant money can be used by state and local organizations for training people on how to use naloxone, as well as administering and distributing the medication. The grant is administered by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. Experts note that there have been past moments when the U.S. overdose deaths seem to have plateaued or even started to go down, only to rise again. That happened in 2018. No coincidence that Stinky the Cloud was in charge then. They were going down, but then Stinky got in charge and they went back up. There you go. Cause and effect.
Yep.
Don't say he didn't cause it, because one of the first things he did, I'm going to cut $56 million on people preventing overdoses, and then blame somebody else when they overdose. Because that's what narcissists do. They don't solve a problem; they just blame other people. Drug
they
manufacturers,
so they can blame others. Yeah.
Right. And Trump has never solved a problem in his life. He's only created problems. Drug manufacturers, distributors, pharmacy chains, and other businesses have settled lawsuits with state and local governments over the painkillers that were the main driver of overdose deaths in the past. The deals over the last decade or so have promised about $50 $50 billion over time, with most of it required to be used to fight addiction. I wonder how these companies are getting around actually doing anything. I bet you they're not doing anything, but whatever. Another settlement that could be among the largest, with members of the Sackler family who own Oxycontin maker Purdue Pharma agreeing to pay $7 billion, could be approved this year. They'll get out of it. Trump will let them get him out of it somehow. They'll give $1 million to him. He'll get him out of it. Anyway.
Yeah.
The money, along with federal taxpayer funding, is going to a variety of programs, including supportive housing and harm reduction efforts, such as providing materials to test drugs for fentanyl, the biggest driver of overdoses now.
Yeah. I don't know if you've seen any footage about fentanyl, but I think there's a drug guy who is showing footage of like how much you could consume of each drug, like heroin, cocaine, before you OD. Fentanyl is like three little dots of like three tiny milligrams.
Yeah, it's also...
you literally put a tiny little prick in something and you can overdose. Ridiculous.
Sounds like misinformation to me. I seen the one where the cop went into fucking hysterical shock just by opening something that had fentanyl.
It wasn't like from a drug FDA guy. It wasn't just like some video.
I'm just saying that a lot of misinformation. Either way, stay away from it.
Yeah.
What these people do with the money is currently at issue.
They give it to you in the hospital, right? Because it is a pain medication, right? But at the hospital, they have these things called milligrams, right? And they put it through your IV, and it's diluted with saline, right? You're not licking it out of the freaking medicine tube, you know? So it's science, it's chemistry, and people are not scientists or chemists, so they're not consuming it in that way, in an educated way, which is why they're putting.
They're using opioids and fentanyl as a political issue. They're not interested in solving a problem. They just want to scapegoat people, and particularly brown people, because that's their big push against the Mexicans. It's like, oh, Mexicans are bringing it in. Never mind that it's mostly being brought in by U.S. citizens. But what each state will do with that money is currently at issue. States can either say, we won, we can walk away in the wake of the decline. We won and we can walk away. That's how it works. Hey, we can stop functioning as a government.
Wait, why do we care about governments again? Right, they're supposed to protect society from chaos. Oh, man, I forgot about that. I thought we were supposed to make billions and billions of money off of tax dollars. Whoops.
That's right, we finally defeated crime. We can stop collecting taxes. There'll never be another crime again. Oh yeah, there you go. Final solution. Yeah, whatever, man. Yeah, if you believe they've solved anything ever. We've never solved anything in the history of humans, but we're trying. That's all we can do. And all this nonsense about we finally figured this out is just, please. Keep fooling yourself, I guess. As you end up a Trump voter, you believe bullshit promises and you don't care about details, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the story. Sneaky the Clown administration views opioids as largely a law enforcement issue and a reason to step up border security. Yeah, right.
So many studies out there that are like, arresting people and putting in prison doesn't solve drug abuse, by the way.
That worries many public. Let's lock them up. Yeah, right, whatever. The only person to be locked up is Trump. We believe that taking a public health approach that seeks to support, not punish people who use drugs is crucial to ending the overdose crisis, said Dr. Tamara Alt, an Illinois woman whose 16-year-old son died of a heroin overdose in 2012. She was now executive director of Broken No More, advocacy organization focused on substance use disorder. That's the problem with some people, though. They don't care about an issue. Somebody in their family gets hurt. It's like, oh no, it's too late, but I can help somebody else. Myself, I ain't waiting for somebody else to, be sick. I'm like, I care about this now. Anyway, Alt attributes recent declines in growing availability of naloxone, work to make treatment available, and wider awareness of the problem. There you go. There's your story. And I got another good news story, but you got to owe me a non sequitur.
Well, your non sequitur
Or did you already do that?
Good thing that drugs are out there. Because it gives people an excuse to not do anything. I'm not going to do anything. That's the drug's problem. How'd that drug get there? Not my problem. Why is that person addicted to drugs?
There's
Not my
reason.
problem.
Yeah, the
Looks
reason
like it's
people
the
get
law
addicted
enforcement's
to drugs,
problem.
drug addicts are not necessarily your dumber human beings. A lot of cases they're really super intelligent, and they just realize one day the hopelessness of life.
It's a coping mechanism for a lot of people. Drugs. I mean, people drink
like,
and do
oh my God, I just made a
people drink and
realization.
smoke cigarettes. Like, you think they're not doing that because it's a coping mechanism? It's just been normalized, right?
Yeah. It's like, why are people suicidal? I'm like, are you kidding? Really? Look at what life actually is. I like it. 10 good things happen your entire life. The rest of it sucks, right? That's why people are depressed. Anyway, not to depress everybody at Good Tues Newsday, but only 10 good things are going to happen in your life. Anyway, our next story, Paris crowned
10,
Europe.
but you know, it's fine.
I'm just picking a random number. It really isn't that many freaking things that are that special and great, right? You're born, your kids are born, you're married, your kids are, get married. Well, there's so many, like, and then if you don't have kids, there's even less, right? Or maybe even more. Maybe there's more because you get to go more places, right? Yeah. Anyway, so life can be just one prison sentence, which a lot of people consider life a prison sentence. So let's not get into the deep existential crisis questions of the world. Let's talk about bikes.
Yeah, bikes.
As Paris is crowned Europe's best city for cycling. Boo! Come on, let's have the booze. Let's have it. Come on, Amsterdam.
Paris.
Bring it. Come
Not
on,
a country.
Netherlands.
That's
bring
one
it.
city. Shut up.
Don't just sit on your hands, you
France
Dutch
is the
people.
new
Let's
bike
have some-
capital because one city in the country has bikes.
You really should be mad as Copenhagen, because to me, Copenhagen was way more impressive. Not way more, but yeah.
When did you bike in
was downright-
Amsterdam? We never biked in Amsterdam. I thought it would be too scary for
bit.
you. 'Cause they're
You're right.
aggressive.
That traffic, that massive traffic I was in Copenhagen, there can't be anything bigger than that in Amsterdam. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there is. Trust me.
15 wide and
Next time
70
you-
long.
next time you can get here-
Stuck in the middle.
We'll go biking from Vondel Park all the way to the center, and you can experience the Amsterdam biking experience. Okay?
I've seen plenty of biking in Amsterdam.
Yeah, but you didn't do it. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, I have to put some skin in the game. Is that what you're saying? Okay. So anyway, step aside Amsterdam. Europe has a new cycling capital in a remarkable turn of events. Paris, once infamous for its maddening traffic, has raced ahead in European ranking of cycle-friendly cities for children. Amsterdam and Antwerp came in second and third. So, geez, Copenhagen's really dragging ass in this city. Okay. They're fourth at best. It follows a concerted effort to reclaim the realm of motor vehicles in the French capital, where parking spaces and roads have given way to hundreds of miles of bike lanes under Mayor Anne Hidalgo. The ranking was compiled by the Clean Cities Campaign, CCC, a nonprofit which analyzed stats on segregated cycle lanes, road speeds, and school streets where traffic is limited. And note that Paris now has protected cycling network that is nearly half, or 48%, as long as its road network. Taking a walk through Paris today is a breath of fresh air compared to 10 years ago, said Barbara Stoll, CCC Senior Director. It takes vision, leadership, and sustained investment, but most cities can and should make similar progress. There's a quick story on Paris. But don't give up, Amsterdam. You can always pull ahead again, right? Let's make this a real competition.
It doesn't really sound like it is. I think
All
it's
the
just
cities.
like manufactured. It's another manufacturing
think
competition.
Berlin,
Oh, we're
I think
better
all
than
the
you.
All the big European cities ought to get on board with this. Cycling
Every European
trade.
town and country should get on board with it. Like, Europe is so small, right? In comparison to America. Yeah, Germany can be kind of big. But in a general sense, everything is older here, right? Centuries older in some cases. So everything's smaller and more compact and closer together. So every European country should be like pro bike, in my opinion. Of course,
Right.
unless you're
You
in
got bike lanes
Switzerland or
between
something where it's
cities.
like, I'm not biking up that mountain. No way. But you know what? Not by the
Down
Alps,
mountain,
maybe.
Down the mountain can be fun.
Just make a bunch of tunnels. I mean,
Anyway.
that's what the Netherlands do. They make a bunch of
They're
bike tunnels under the roads and stuff, so you can keep going without having to worry about crossing the street. But I know Amsterdam is going no car, or they're trying to go no car, so they don't want 0 cars in Amsterdam. And I don't know how Paris will ever be able to compete with that. There's no way Paris could say no to cars in the center. Maybe in the center, but the whole city, no way they'll ever do that. But that is my segue.
Your non sequitur.
My non sequitur. I don't even. I can give. Ooh. I could give up the competition to Copenhagen, but I could not Paris. No way. Since I've been to Paris, no way is that a Viking city.
It's made progress in the last 2 years. It's been 2 years, so 2 years.
And maybe in 20 years they might be better. Who knows?
Yeah, they made progress.
Haiku time. We're going to be talking about some good news for the Netherlands and the UK. We were talking about, I think, last week, the EU, the United Kingdom is looking to open borders and freedom of travel into the EU. Me. Huh?
Excuse me, you're calling me on Facebook Messenger for some reason. You need to hang that up.
I must have did it by accident. Okay.
Yeah, that was going to keep ringing. Stop. Okay.
We talked about it last week, how the EU and the UK were talking about maybe opening up some borders, having some freedom of travel for pets, especially because you have to get a whole passport and get all your things, and basically they're trying to do that soft return on Brexit, because Brexit was a terrible idea, and everyone agrees, I think, at this point that it was a terrible idea. So this is a little small look into what may be happening. The Netherlands will notice that there is an agreement between the European Union and the United Kingdom. A tip of the veil, energy will become cheaper and traveling with pets is easier. But what else is in this deal for the Netherlands? This is by Geert Lagendorf on Algemeen Dagblad. Good luck pronouncing that. Dutch sea fishermen received unexpectedly wonderful news yesterday on the 19th of May. European boats will be able to cast their nets in British waters until 2038. The fishing quotas agreed after Brexit will remain the same during this period. It made the benefits of the agreement between the EU and the United Kingdom, ratified in London yesterday, immediately tangible. The Netherlands will also benefit from a deal in numerous other areas. The fishermen owed the windfall to French President Emmanuel Macron. In the dead of night, he threatened to withdraw his support for the deal if the British Prime Minister Keir Starmer did not comply with his wishes. After months of negotiations to limit the damage of Brexit, Starmer relented. The total package of benefits is so far-reaching that the UK had to give to Macron. Outcome of the London summit made it clear why. The UK, under Starmer's Labour government, showed that it was prepared to go to great lengths to repair its troubled relationship with the EU. Flour traders, agricultural exporters, and pig farmers no longer have to comply with all sorts of time-consuming and costly procedures to enter the British market. Days-long waiting times at the border are about to disappear. Sometimes days-long waiting times at the border for inspections. Truck drivers will be able to drive through unhindered, just as before Brexit. Like, literally, we're completely gone back on Brexit. It's happening, guys. We're just pretending Brexit never happened. Hey, can we have a deal that we had before? The truck drivers will be able to drive through unhindered just as before. In exchange for a similar gesture from the EU, the UK will mirror its rules and requirements to those of Brussels. Health certificates for plants and animals produce no longer have to be applied for separately. This makes the UK, which has become an unattractive sales market for many companies due to bureaucracy of Brexit, and the trading partner with prospects again. Yeah, this is the opposite of convicted felon Trump's doing, right? He's like, let's make all of our trade partners hate us. Woo! We'll trade with nobody and nobody will trade with us, and that will solve something, question mark? Brexit was like, oh shit, why did we piss off our biggest trading partner just across the channel, the EU? Are we stupid? So they fixed that, they turned around, did a U-turn. The changes will also help holidaymakers with dogs. Pets will no longer need to obtain a passport with proof of vaccinations from a vet before traveling to the UK. Airports will be given a welcome change. Electronic gates at customers will reopen for Europeans. hours of queuing for the border force at Heathrow will no longer be necessary. Yeah, I can go to Scotland again. Woohoo! Thus, people who do not import from or export to the UK will also notice the effects of the deal. Agreements on energy trade could reduce electricity bills. The British wanted to buy nuclear energy from France. In return, EU countries can draw on reserves in the UK, which will also invest heavily in wind turbines in the North Sea with the EU. According to experts, this new course should lead to price reductions. For students, the restrictions are going to university in the UK are disappearing. At least that is what the EU President Ursula von der Leyen stated. In the coming months, the UK will join Erasmus Plus, the European exchange program. Before that happens, the so-called Youth Experience Scheme offers new opportunities. Young Europeans can get a visa to work or study in the UK for a certain period. The Youth Experience Scheme, a requirement of the EU, opens the borders of the UK to Dutch citizens. However, the rate for foreigners for tuition fees remains, rising to €200,000 per year. Erasmus will solve that problem in long term. Then a student card will be sufficient to study at Cambridge or Oxford. In a broader sense, the deal can yield considerable savings for the Netherlands as a state. No longer have to be paying too many tuition fees. Of course, my foreign tuition fee was only €8,000 here in the Netherlands, which is way cheaper than €20,000 a year, which is why I did not go to a UK university, because even as a US person, it was still expensive. It was the same price as a US university, honestly. So I was like, I'm just gonna go to the Netherlands. I like the country, and the tuition's $8,000, and I already know where I have a place to stay. It was just perfect for me. Defense spending will also be down. Closer cooperation in the field of security and military operation will reduce the defense expenditure. The UK will contribute to European Fund for Rearmament. The British will lighten the burden of the EU countries by purchasing an arsenal. At the same time, they will make their intelligence services available to Brussels. The Netherlands can make good use of them in the fight against international drug trafficking, because Amsterdam, Rotterdam, and even Brussels, even Antwerp, huge drug smuggling operations going on there, and the British can help share some knowledge. It's all because of the British desire to cut through the barbed wire of Brexit, which to be fair, this is a different government, right? This government wasn't even involved in the Brexit vote. They're probably involved in telling people not to vote for it. So it's very nice to see Starmer's finally coming up with something useful that people in the UK want, which is reversing all of these stupid decisions from Brexit. I mean, I don't think they'll be able to reverse Brexit itself, but they could be. Who knows? Who knows what could happen in 5 years? It took them 5 years, 10 years to even figure out how to get out of the thing. So in 10 years, they could be back right into it again. So there's your good news for the UK, the EU, and everyone in between. Haiku.
All right. Haiku time? Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Let me close. Probably locking up again. The page is open. Okay, my haiku is: we will go fishing. We will go to Great Britain for the halibut.
You also put a pun in there, I see. Very clever.
There you go. I sent you a video. There you go.
Alright, you sent me a video as well? Cool. We've got a hypothetical for me for your next story.
We're going to talk about Jim Morrison. Jim Morrison died in 1971. So, anyway, this is news from Paris. Jim Morrison bus found by chance during police search. Maybe it's from Paris. I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, it is. There's more news from Paris, so we're staying in France. Jim Morrison bus found by chance during police search 37 years after it was stolen from the singer's grave. That's really fucked up, people. Grave robbing, what's wrong with you, man? What's wrong with you? Anyway, French police have recovered it by chance, the long-lost bus of American singer Jim Morrison that once adorned the grave of the iconic frontman of The Doors 37 years after it was stolen from a Paris cemetery. The sculpture, missing since 1988, was found during a search tied to a fraud case led by Paris Public Prosecutor's Office, a source close to the investigation told AFP. Nostalgic rock fans still flock to Morrison's grave at the Père Lachaise Cemetery in France, where he was buried after his death in the French capital in 1971 at the age of 27. Yeah, the bust that I'm looking at right here looks like it was done by like high school students or something. If that's the one, the sculpture by Croatian artist Mladen Mokulin had been placed at the grave mark at the 10th anniversary of Morrison's death. It was found by the Financial and Anti-Corruption Brigade of the Judicial Police Department of the Police. The Anti-Corruption Brigade of the Judicial Police Department of the Police. Is that also the Department of Redundancy Department? Right? Anyway. Morrison's grave in an area known as Poets' Corner is perhaps the world's most visited resting place of a musician. In 1991, on the 20th anniversary of the singer's death, a riot broke out at the grave site, the BBC reported, forcing the cemetery to hire extra security. Gotta protect the dead guy! After that, a guard was permanently stationed at Morrison's grave. Who's paying this guy? But messages continued to appear in surrounding tombs. So people were just writing other people's tombs, adjacent tombs. You know, Dan Ferguson is buried 3 graves down, and it's like, break on through to the other side, Dan Ferguson, or whatever, you know. I don't know. The exact circumstances of the singer's death are still shrouded in mystery, with most early accounts saying he died of a cardiac arrest in his bathtub. A French journalist, Sam Bennett, claimed in 2007 that close friends and family spun the official version of Morrison's death to sanitize his reputation. Really? I don't think that
Omlin
worked.
just said, it sounds like it was a very grave situation.
Did we spin bad pun? I don't remember spinning a bad pun.
Omlin did. Omlin gave us a free one. Just sharing.
Bennett said Morrison actually died of a heroin overdose in the toilet of a nightclub that the journalist owned at the time, the Rock and Roll Circus in Paris Left Bank. The Doors, well, that's his story. The Doors, founded in Los Angeles, were among the most influential rock groups of the late 60s and early 70s, very early 70s, and mainstay of the counterculture at the time. Their hits include Rise and Storm, Light My Fire, The End. I don't think The End was a hit. It's a 12-minute song at the end of an album. A haunting song that features prominently in the Francis Ford Coppola's 1979 Vietnam War Apocalypse Now. In February, Paris named a bridge after the iconic singer, located just steps from the Bohemian Marais district where he last lived. So, Jim Morrison, bust has been recovered, and there's a picture of it, and to me, it's iconic. Not exactly a work of art, but hey, somebody went to the trouble of making it, and somebody went to the further trouble of stealing it, and it's been recovered after 37 years. Our next story, oh wait, segue before I hit my next story, which is very short.
So you're telling me there's people out there who are going to graveyards and stealing people's shit, and then just leave them around? Like, oh, I stole this Jim Morrison's van.
Yeah.
And then I just left it in a junkyard. Wow.
In a closet, a storage somewhere, right? Just like, nobody would probably even recognize it as Jim Morrison.
At least sell it or something, right? At least sell it, make a bunch of money. But he didn't even do that. He just, I'm keeping this.
It's just another thing at his grave for people to leave graffiti on, is what it looks like. Because the pictures of it from 1985, it's full of graffiti just like the rest of the grave. So anyway, there's your story. Next story.
Yep.
Dry cleaner. This is from goodnewsnetwork.org. Andy Corbally. Dry cleaner gives away his services to unemployed folks headed to job interviews. Just pay it forward, he says. That's right. This is your good news from California. The owner of a California dry cleaner is showing those down on their luck that the community wants them to succeed, so he's ensuring they look their best as they get ready for the next big break. After talking to fellow owners of dry cleaners about how they could give something back to their communities, he decided to offer speedy cleaning and pressing of clothes for free to any unemployed customers heading to a job interview. At Lux Cleaning and Alterations at 1610 West Campbell in San Jose, owner Ali Shirkode says the pro bono work is about fulfilling his long-held ambition to infuse his career with acts of kindness. It will definitely give some hope to the community they live in, cares about them, he told the San Jose Spotlight. It's not about just getting, it's about giving. That's the part that brings all of us joy. Immigrating to the United States from Iran in 1986, Ali wasn't sure where he'd find work, even though he possessed a degree in molecular biology. When no white-collar career opportunities came knocking, he started Lux Cleaners, which became a super successful business in the Silicon Valley. He says about 5 to 10 people a week arrived to take advantage of his generosity. Spotlight reports that just recently a woman came to him. Spotlight, which is, I guess, a newspaper, reports that just recently a woman came to him for a shirt pressing en route to a tech company interview, and afterwards she stopped by to tell Shirkodai that she got the job, all before leaving a 5-star Yelp review saying, "I definitely felt the love of my community." Ali said he and his team were more excited than she was. Spotlight described him as possessing a typical immigrant work ethic, finishing in 4 days what other tailors do in 4 weeks, and cleaning complicated items like Indian saris and wedding dresses. He does it all to smile, hoping his customers pay forward the kindness elsewhere. What's not good?
Oh, cleaning those things. It's really hard. Like saris and wedding dresses? Yeah.
Yeah.
Not an easy job is what I mean to say.
That's one of the things that's why it's a dry cleaner, because they don't stick it in a washing machine. That's one of the things I love about having a small business and dealing with people on a daily basis, he told Spotlight. I see many different faces every day, and believe me, a small smile can change their day. There's your good news. A good news story from Dry Cleaner World. There you go.
Yay! So if I ever need some dry cleaning, I can go over there. That's what it sounds like.
Only for a job interview, and you get it done for free if you're going to a job interview. So that's it. Not just any dry cleaning. You're going to pay full price if it's just going to a wedding at full price.
Full price.
Unless you can work on a discount. You can work on a group discount with them. Like, hey, I bring all my business here if you give me a 10% discount. All kinds of fun stuff like that.
Yeah, that is true. You can get a bulk order.
Right on. Right.
All right, we rolled another hypothetical for my culture segment.
Hypothetical.
You can re-roll if you want.
No, it's good.
Okay. We're talking about some obsidian artifacts have been found, and they reveal how the Aztec Empire evolved before its downfall. We love learning about ancient civilizations and drawing up some theories here to reveal the secrets behind humanity. Ooh. This is from Ashley Strickland on Edition, I guess CNN. Hundreds of artifacts reveal where the Aztecs got their obsidian. These are volcanic glass that they used for tools, ornamental pieces of religious objects centuries ago, and their vast trade networks, including their rivals. A new study of the 788 pieces in the largest sample of obsidian artifacts ever analyzed for Tenochtitlan, which served as the capital of the city of the Aztecs, also known as Mexica people, according to authors who reported their findings yesterday on the 19th of May in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. Using portable X-ray fluorescence and non-destructive way to identify geochemical fingerprints, the researchers confirmed that the Mexicas were partial to particular green and golden obsidian to produce items for rituals. Ooh, that's really cool. A green and golden obsidian. But the community also relied on everyday objects made of different kinds of obsidian, like blades for cutting and scraping, and thus had to establish a complex economic system that encouraged long-distance trade with rival societies beyond their political borders, the researchers said. Although the Mexicas preferred green obsidian, the high diversity of obsidian types, mainly in the form of non-ritual artifacts, suggests that obsidian tools from multiple sources reached the capital of the empire through market, said lead study author Diego Matadamas Gomora, a doctoral candidate of the anthropology of Tulane University in New Orleans. In a statement, by studying where the material come from, we can explore the movement of goods across Mesoamerica. The research team was surprised by the variety of obsidian types found in the ancient capital, which surpasses that found in other sites in Mesoamerica. The discovery also shed lights on how the Aztec society evolved. introducing more standardized religion and control before the empire fell in 1521, by showing how obsidian was used to change over time. The Aztecs didn't discover obsidian. It was already the most common raw material in Mesoamerica when they arrived in the basin of Mexico in 1200. And the use of obsidian on a broad scale dates to Archaic period, which was from 6000 to 2000 BC for Mesoamerican societies, Matadamas Gamora said. Obsidian originated from a geological formation known as a Trans-Mexican Volcanic Belt, spanning 621 miles or 1,000 kilometers from the west to east coast in central Mexico, the study authors noted. Craftspeople who had experience working with obsidian could shape the volcanic gas into incredibly sharp instruments, according to the study authors. The material natural reflectivity and luster also enabled the Mexican people to turn obsidian into highly polished ornaments and religious objects. I don't know if you've ever seen an obsidian knife, but they are very sharp. It's kind of scary how sharp they are. It's glass. It's glass. Volcanic glass. The artifacts examined in the study were uncovered during excavations that took place over decades from main Aztec temple of Tenochtitlan, called the Templo Mayor, in what is now Mexico City. Nearly 90% of these obsidian artifacts came from the Sierra de Pachuca mountain range, the study found. Centuries ago, the Mexicas buried offerings of miniature weapons and jewelry within the sacred part of the city. They considered green obsidian the most valuable of all obsidian types due to its hue and called it obsidian of the masters, Matadamas Gamora said. The green obsidian was also thought to have a symbolic connections to Tolan, a mythical city where the god Quetzalcoatl lived, which was believed to be the ancestral origin of Mexico's civilization. Most obsidian are natural gray or black, Matadamas Gamora said in an email. Green obsidian from the Sierra de Pachuca is unique and related to the specific geological source. The Aztecs recognized and valued that. In addition, the geological formation processes at the Sierra de Pachuca allowed the creation of high-quality obsidian at the source, making it ideal for producing complex ornament. It was good quality and it was special. The study highlights how important non-destructive X-ray fluorescence spectrometry has become to archaeology, said John Milhauser, Associate Professor of Sociology and Anthropology at North Carolina State University. Milhauser was not involved in the new study. Without it, we wouldn't be able to study the histories of these artifacts in such a detail, Milhauser said. Though the technique has only been widely used for about 2 decades, each new applicant adds a crucial piece of the puzzle of the ancient Mexican economy. The other 10% of artifacts were made using obsidian from 7 other locations, including Otumba, Talacingo, Usarero, and El Pariaso, while Otumba and Sierra de Pachuca were controlled by the Aztec Empire. Places in Usarero were beyond the empire's political borders, suggesting that Mexicas did not restrict the flow of obsidian tools from rival regions to local markets, Matadamas Gamora said. Why couldn't they also argue they just killed people and took their stuff? I'm not saying they were doing that, but it's just as likely, right? We want to think that they like to do trade, economic trade. Maybe. Or maybe they just killed a lot of people. The Aztecs were famously pulling people's hearts out and draining their blood down the steps. Later in the empire, to be fair, they didn't start doing that. They did it later in the empire, but still. Additionally, the tools could be found at rural as well as urban markets. The fact that people living in the heart of the capital relied on the same obsidian materials as villagers and farmers in the surrounding countryside was one of the most striking findings in the study, said Milhauser, who also directs the graduate program in anthropology at North Carolina State University. Considering that hundreds of thousands of people live in the region, the scale of the obsidian supply and distribution network is extraordinary, he said. It's a powerful reminder how robust and far-reaching the economy of a central Mexico was 500 years ago. Just like Europe and Africa and the Middle East and Asia. Yeah, who would have thought? Us here in the Americas were also just as smart as everyone else. Wow. Sorry, I love when people say that. Like, oh wait, people in America were doing stuff too? Yep, that's right. when the United States of America was invented, it was not the first time civilization touched the continent. With commodities like obsidian circulating widely to meet the needs of communities across the region. Early in the Aztecs' history, obsidian for ritual and everyday objects came from limited sources, but after the Aztec Empire defeated the Topanecs from Azcapotzalco and began imperial expansion in 1430, obsidian types increased, showing how the Mexicans expanded their commercial networks, Matadamas Gamora said. Later, between 1481 and 1486, reminder that we have European and African and Asian history at those same times, so it's not crazy. The Mexicans were ruled by a problematic Tlaloani, Aztec ruler, Tizoc, who destabilized the empire's dominance, he said in an email. We see in this period that obsidian diversity was reduced to only two sources, Sierra de Pachuca and Antumba, which were historically the primary supply sources for Mexico. After 1486, when a new ruler came to power, obsidian diversity increased again to 7 sources. Therefore, our diachronic perspective on obsidian consumption revealed that the availability of the raw material was related directly to the transformations of the capital city. Next is to better understand the ancient obsidian trade. Matadamas Gamora wants to cover how obsidian moved across Mesoamerica, including other archaeological sites, and arrived at Tenochtitlan. Archaeologists still know surprising little about the Mexican capital, largely because it lies beneath the modern sprawl of Mexico City. It's a great place to build a capital, so everyone built theirs there. Milhauser said in an email, every new study offers fresh insights into the new lives of ancient residents. So, there's your exciting delve into the history of economic trade in Mesoamerica, and revealing that, hey, us humans are all the same. What do you know? We all have the same amount of intelligence as each other. We look at the stars. We trade stuff. We like using tools. So, do we really have that much differences?
Well, if you watch the History Channel, then you can only arrive at one hypothetical, and that is, it was aliens. It was ancient aliens.
Wait, brown people are just as smart as the white people of Europe? It must have been the aliens.
Well, they say the same thing about they say the same thing as Europe and in Africa. They say the same thing. It's like, humans 10,000 years ago could have been this smart. I'm like, why not? I'm trying to figure out why.
I feel like we haven't gotten that much smarter. Let's be honest, guys.
There's probably thousands of inventions we haven't even discovered yet that were relied upon before the last plague, and all the people that used them died, right?
And also, maybe they just became obsolete, right? Lost knowledge because they're no longer useful. We got something better, like floppy disks. Is anyone even remember floppy disks in 1,000 years? Probably not.
I don't think most people know what floppy disks are now. So,
well, let's go to this day in history because my chair repair guy is here. So,
okay, National Day. This day in history on this day. I did send you a film, so you can.
I think you need to send it to me again because I did not receive it.
Really? Okay, well, I'll do that first before I start. Because it locks up my computer. Do it. Okay. Oh, come on. Takes a minute. Close that page.
All right, I'm back.
Sending.
I got your message as well.
This day in history, in 1794, the Netherlands yielded to Great Britain some of its. He was talking about fishing, right?
Yeah.
Great Britain's from Netherlands.
That's crazy, actually.
And this day in history.
What a coincidence!
It yielded to Great Britain some of its holdings in Indonesia, in a treaty signed as part of the Peace of Paris, a collection of treaties that concluded the American Revolution. That's crazy, right? So the Netherlands gave up land to Great Britain during the settlement of the American Revolution. Does that make any sense? 1799, French author Honoré de Balzac Work on your Balzac, as they say. Considered one of the greatest fiction writers and best known for a collection of novels and short stories collectively called the Le Comédie Humaine, or the Human Comedy. He was born on this day, so happy birthday to Balzac. 1806, economist and philosopher John Stuart Mill was born in London, so lots of authors born today. 1973, Levi Strauss and Jacob Davis were granted a patent for using copper rivets to strengthen certain areas of trousers, notably pocket corners. The patent was credited with giving rise to blue jeans. Levi Strauss, of course, his name is given to the Levi's company. The durable dungarees, as they called them in those days. 1882, German, Austria-Hungary, and Italy secretly formed a Triple Alliance, a treaty organization that provided for mutual protection against attacks by other European powers until Italy entered World War I. So that lasted, not quite 20 years, 14 years. 1902, Cuba gained its independence from the United States, which had taken control of the island in 1899 after defeating Spain in the Spanish-American War.
Woohoo! So Cuban independence! And then they decided to be...
Yay!
The dictatorship, sadly.
Well, actually, in between, it turned into a gambling mecca for the mob.
So the mob, well, somebody had to take over, right?
Atlanta, and again, debauchery, rich people at the top, and nothing but poor people at the bottom. Yeah. That's what leads to a revolution. It didn't just happen in a vacuum. People got tired of, hey, why do 8 people have all the money on this island? That's what they got tired of. In 1946, American singer and actress Cher, who was known for her flamboyant style, was born. Happy birthday to Cher. Born in 1946, she really isn't all that old, man. She's not even 80 yet.
She's looking good.
Is she? A lot of surgery. 2002, East Timor officially became independent. So East Timor, happy birthday to them. 2005, David Letterman stepped down as host of The Late Show with David Letterman. Now it's The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. He redefined American talk show with his unconventional humor and innovative segments. Step down. They say that about all talk show hosts. Have you noticed that? They all say it's innovative, unconventional. It's like, okay. Just a funny guy. May 20th, 1862, our featured event is the U.S. Homestead Act. On this date, 1862, U.S. President Abraham Lincoln signed the Homestead Act, which provided 160 acres of public land virtually free of charge to those who had lived on and cultivated the land for at least 5 years. I think they expanded this later to make it 1,600 acres. Because that's the homestead that's the homestead that my great-grandfather settled was 1,600. He immediately started selling it. You had to settle this land in the 5 years you had to have a farm going on it. So what he did was he sold a lot of the land to logging interests, right? He raised money pretty quick doing that, right? Anyway. Yep. Other birthdays today. John Stuart Mill, we did that. James Stewart, our one of our favorite
actor of all time. I don't know.
George Bale. I don't know. We just liked Jimmy Stewart because he was an American war hero.
He was a good actor. He was a really good actor. He did a lot of crazy roles.
Great actor, George Bailey, of course, and of course, a lot of people don't realize it. He was an actual pilot in the war. Flew a lot of missions, could have just stayed home and with his dogs like John Wayne, and he went to war. So Jimmy Stewart, we'll remember his birthday today. He was born in 1908. 1915, Moshe Dayan, the Israeli statesman, I know of him. He was always the guy with the eye patch. He lost an eye in World War II, and he became an Israeli statesman later in life. He was born in 1915, so he's 110 today. 1935 is the birthdays of Jose Mujica, president of Uruguay. Mujica or Mojuca? Jose. Let's just call him Jose. And also a birthday of Cher, which we cover. National Day, because you got to get your chair fixed. It's National Streaming Day, National Rescue Dog Day, National Pick Strawberries Day. Ooh, it's already time to pick strawberries. Get at it. It's National Sugar Bee Apple Day.
Here, and I've been eating them. Three rounds of strawberries every week.
Lots of food today, right? And it's National Quiche Lorraine Day.
Ooh. Ooh.
So those are your days, your mispronunciations, your spins of the wheel, your good news for Good Tues Newsday on May 20th, 2025 on Before Strawberries.
All right. Well, this has been Allison, and I'm just gonna do a pun because I think quiche is a great word for that. So let's quiche it up a notch with some international UN celebrations here. We've got I forgot to cover yesterday's, but yesterday was World Fair Play Day. Now, what is fair play? That cool argument that, you cheated. Fair play fosters mutual respect among participants, teaching us the value and honor to one another. It promotes equality, bridges cultural divides, and empowers young people by showcasing how sports can drive social change and build stronger and more cohesive communities. Of course, fair play is an excuse a lot of anti-trans people are using to force trans people out of sports. It's not fair. It's not about being fair. It's about being fair play, right? Nobody's taking a bunch of steroids to throw better. Nobody, I don't know, had somebody else do the sports for them and then claimed it was them. I don't know. That we're talking about actual fair play, not being
Nobody
fair.
Bribed the judge.
Two different things here, guys. Yeah.
Nobody bribed the refs.
Just fair play is all we're aiming for.
Problems.
Exactly.
Right.
For today, it is, of course, World Bee Day. That's right. Those little stinging bees help pollinate all our plants, and not just the flowers, but our apple trees, our strawberries, right? None of those would be growing because nearly 90% of the world's wildflowering plant species depend entirely on animal pollination, and 75% of the world's food crops, 35% of global agricultural land, all rely on the survival of bees. So make sure you don't smash any bees today. Reminds me of a short I saw, I don't know, months ago, where he was like, I had to get in a fight with my friend over bees. He kept on killing bees, like in front of me. I was like, can you stop? Can you stop killing bees? And he's like, why? You got a problem? And then he killed another bee. And I said, you kill one more bee, I'm gonna smack you up the head. I'm gonna knock you out. Then he did it again. So what did he do? He laid his friend on the floor, and he was like, stop killing bees. You're literally a human being. Rely on bees in order for us to even make food. And he was like, am I overreacting, guys? Was I overreacting by laying my friend out on the pavement for killing bees after I asked him to stop doing it? And everyone was like, no, that was only response, obviously.
You underreacted. You should have pushed him in the river.
Let me smash you under a giant foot and see how you feel. Anyways, there's our international UN celebration, so make sure you take care of bees today and focus on that fair play. This has been Allison from the Netherlands, Roger from the East Coast of the US, as we're done with another Good Tues Newsday. Hope you feel positive. I hope you feel inspired by all the good stuff that's been going on this week. And congratulations to the EU and the UK for recreating Brexit. Uncreating Brexit and just going the opposite direction. I still think that's so funny. It's good news, but it is funny. And we will see you tomorrow for Wacky and Weird Wednesday. We're covering all the weird and wacky news the same time as always. Whenever you're watching this live now, it's going to be here an hour from now. And let's celebrate wacky and weird things. Let's go to our Jimmy Stewart mic drop moment. Yeah, this was so loud when it came on. It scared me.
The story is about the man and his wife sitting having breakfast. Very nice couple. And the man said, Margaret, no, it was the other way around. Margaret said to John, John, if I would die, would you get married right away after my death? But John said, well, that's the darndest thing. Here's a beautiful morning, and we're sitting here having a nice breakfast together, and you bring up
there's bees buzzing in the flowers.
I'm not going to talk to you.
Yeah.
It's a terrible thing to do, Margaret, and I forget about it. But she didn't forget about it. She brought the same thing up that night. And,
really?
He did the same thing, and then for about 3 days, she said, now, if I would die, would you get married? Finally, he gave up, and he said, one night, she said, if I would die, would you get married again? He said, yes, I would. No,
he tells a joke like
that's
normal.
Yeah.
Would you sell the house? He said,
How would I sell the house?
I went, no, I wouldn't sell the house. She said, would you sell our bed? He said, no. No, I wouldn't. It's, our bed is, I don't see any reason why. No, I wouldn't sell the bed. She said, well, you certainly wouldn't let her touch my golf clubs. And he said, no, she's left-handed.
Good old Jimmy. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
My golf club.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.